Okay, so the deck went 6, 1, and 1, and it faced some of the top strategies in the metagame. I didn't end up playing my friend who was playing Altergeist, but I had beat him in testing. So round 1, played Spiral. Game 1, I went full combo, which ended me on Mighty Master, Jackal King, Time Star Magician, Time Pendulumgraph, and Star Pendulumgraph. Game 2, I didn't see my side cards, so he was able to win. No lava golems, no nothing. Game 3, I won with the meme. And trust me, it's a meme. And I'll explain that in the profile. Round 2, Salamangreats. I won with a time graph in a grind game, essentially. Lost to Nibiru. He ashed my Spell Power Mastery, so I had to decide, am I going to commit and go over 5? And I did, because I already had won round 1, so I wasn't too worried about losing round 2 and then getting to go first in round 3. And that's what happened. I ended up winning with full combo in game 3. Rounds 3 and 4, I faced heroes both times and body bagged them both times because they allowed me to go first, because they're an OTK strategy. And on the second game, I would side in Secret Village of the Spellcasters, and that won me 2-0 against round 4. And then round 3, I won 2-0 using full combo and then using the meme again. Round 5, Danger Darkworld. Was able to grind out a very, very long game 1. He was able to disrupt a lot of my combos, but he could not stop my Time Pendulumgraph and the Time Star Magician from just constantly disrupting his combos and not allowing him to build anything that could kill me. And so was eventually able to grind out the win. But in game 2, he was able to go full combo, going first. He set up an Appaloosa and a fusion card, I forget what it's called, but it can negate an infinite number of spells per turn by sending the top card of his deck to the graveyard and then discarding one card from his, or banishing one card from his graveyard. So obviously I was not able to play through that. And then the first game took so long that we got called on time. So I ended up in a draw. My only loss was to Pendulum. You play the best deck, you'll lose to the best deck. I lost round 1 due to drawing the entire spellbook engine. And throughout the day, I hated seeing the spellbook cards. Anytime I see the spellbook cards, I wish they were anything else. And I think I'm taking the entire engine out. Yeah, then in game 2, I won with Secret Village and then a 1 Jackal King beatdown. I put the Chronograph Sorcerer in the Pendulum Scale, popped it, tribute summoned the Time Gazer for the Jackal King, put Secret Village down, set Time Graph, and then set a card in the scales. He would normal summon. I would blow up his monster that he would put, and then I would attack him with the Jackal King, and that was how it went the entire game. And then game 3, I was unable to get over the board that he had made. Round 7 was a quick 2-0 against Blue Eyes. I don't know why I was playing Blue Eyes at this high, but apparently he was doing pretty well. He honestly believes that Chaos Max is a win condition, and I suppose maybe to some decks it is. But with things like Borolo Dragon and Time Pendulumgraph just setting the graveyard, it was no problem. So like in game 1, I had set up and I could have stopped his ritual spells, but I didn't. I just let it happen and then sent it anyways. Yeah, quick 2-0. And then Crusadia, quick 2-0 because it's an OTK strategy that let me go first, and I was able to go full combo on 1, and then, yeah, win in like 2 turns in the next one. So wasn't too much of a challenge. Now into the deck profile. Okay, so as previously mentioned, I'm going to take all of these out. So they are not in the deck, and I haven't thought of replacement cards for them yet, but I will eventually. But yes, you will not see the spellbook engine. I don't like it because every time I saw them, I wish I didn't see them. I think I didn't even go into this a whole lot. I went into other extra deck options. So we're gonna get into the deck profile, and I really think that this deck will be even better under Master Rule 5. And that's how I've kind of built it for doing Xyz spam, Synchro spam, things like that. So 2 copies of the Mighty Master of Magic, one of the boss monsters, 2 copies of Mythical Beast Jackal King, another one of the boss monsters. So each turn I'm just trying to set up 2 to 3 negates and the Time Pendulumgraph, ideally. 2 copies of Harmonized Magician in case you need to banish one off Allures or you happen to banish one off Desires. 3 copies of Wisdom Eye Magician because it can pop itself in scale as long as there's another magician and then make himself whatever other scale you need. So you always have high access to high and low scales, and rank a level 5 is kind of a high scale for this deck because most of the monsters are level 4. Purple Poison Magician for attack point boost, and its destruction effect is very handy. Black Fang Magician. So one thing I will do is on my opponent's turn, I'll use the Time Pendulumgraph, target the Black Fang Magician, activate Time Star Magician's effect to send, let's say, a Jackal King to the graveyard. Then on my turn, use Black Fang Magician's effect to cut my opponent's attack points in half, and that will special summon the Jackal King to the field when I use that effect. Oath Dragon Magician because it can bounce or return, I should say, a card face up from the extra deck to your hand. Has to be a magician, but they're all magicians essentially. Time Breaker Magician because if your opponent tries to Lightning Storm you, generally they will forget that will not work as long as Time Breaker is on the field. So if he's in the scale, the first time a pendulum monster would be destroyed, it is not destroyed. So if they Lightning Storm you, nothing will happen. And it's quite comical making them waste it. 1 copy of Time Gazer. Now in this deck, this isn't so much of a brick because you can just use it for scales and it's fine. 3 copies of Chronograph Sorcerer. So one thing I noticed I was doing is I would set 2 scales, one of them being the Wisdom Eye Magician. I would pop him and that would trigger Chronograph Sorcerer's special summoning effect, so I was getting to my Link 2s without committing a normal summon at all, which is why I wasn't using the blue boy. Servant of Endymion because it's at 1 and Konami hates me. 3 copies of Duelist Alliance because this searches out your win condition. Well, at least part of it. Time Pendulumgraph or Star Pendulumgraph, or if you need it, Pen Call. But I would say Pen Call is probably the least important, least likely target. 2 copies of Star Pendulumgraph and then the 1 Pendulum Call, as I said, least important, but you still might want it, so. 3 copies of Spell Power Mastery because you essentially want to run 4 servants if you can. 3 Allures because there's a lot of targets and you draw 2. 2 Pot of Desires because it's a +1. 1 Upstart Goblin because it draws 1. 1 Meme. I'm gonna save it for the big reveal per se. And then 2 Time Pendulumgraph, one of the MVPs of the deck alongside Time Star Magician. It's just great. The ability to trigger all your Magician's effects in the scale, destroy an opponent's card, and then send another one to the graveyard. If they're setting 2, if you go first and they set 2, or even set 4 and pass, you're taking out half of their trap cards immediately, and then before you do anything else, you can just use this again to get rid of the other 2. Altergeist just has nothing for this deck. Yeah, nothing to get rid of this. We'll go into the extra deck. Daybreaker, the Shining Magical Warrior. This was good for, I would link into it, and then when I pendulum summon, as long as 1 landed there, I would get the 2 counters, and generally speaking, I'd be pen summoning a Jackal King if I didn't use Servant to get 1 out. So I had my Nibiru counter. Topologic Trisbania because it hates back row, and it's a good way to just remove your opponent's back row should you need to do that. Deco Talker because it's an easy link 3, and its effect is actually highly underrated, I think. Its negation effect would come in quite handy. Saryuja Skuldread. I don't really use this for anything other than normal summoning when I have Decode Talker and linking up into Saryuja to get those extra arrows for extra deck monsters right now. I won't have to do that later. Borrelsword Dragon for a quick OTK. Borreload Dragon for all those pesky Chaos Max players or anyone else who has a problematic monster. F.A. Dawn Dragster for quick spell and trap negation. And since I have 3 level 3s, it's easier to do. Enlightenment Paladin. So this card can retrieve a spell card from the graveyard, and it also has an effect where if it attacks an opponent's monster that's face down or something like that, they the opponent takes the life point damage anyway. So let's say you have, I don't know, a 4,000 attack point target. You use Black Fang's Magician's effect, which will pop itself in the scale, and then special summon a dark spellcaster from the graveyard, like a Mighty Master or a Jackal King, or maybe your Time Star got destroyed, it'll bring it back. And then cut that opponent's attack points in half. The Enlightened Paladin attacks, they take the over damage, so in this case 500, and then they would take the 4,000 attack points of the original monster anyway. And its ability to retrieve a spell card from the grave lets you recur things that you might need, like I don't know, maybe you need a Duelist Alliance that turn, or you need Spell Power Mastery, something like that. It just lets you retrieve it. Borreload Savage Dragon, because it's amazing. Time Star Magician, probably the MVP. Being able to unclog hands or like fix your hands around. So for example, at one point I pendulum summoned four monsters. Yeah. And I didn't have enough counters to put 3 on my servant. So there's 2 counters on it. I pen summoned the 4. I detached the effect, an Xyz material from Time Star Magician to add the Jackal King to my hand, and then normal summoned over one of those monsters, the Jackal King. So I had Time Star Magician, Mighty Master of Magic, and then the Jackal King with 2 counters on Servant. I'm good to go. Abyss Dweller, because it just rules this format. Spirals die, Salamangreat dies. A lot of people seem to be playing zombies and they die. Even heroes are hurt by this, like Malicious Bane and stuff like that. I think that's the one that activates in the graveyard. Gaga Cowboy for when you jokingly want to cheese time. And last but not least, the meme. Utopia and Utopic Zexal. So the card in the deck is Rank Up Magic. So if I see this in my opening play before I've committed a Pendulum Summon, and I have any way to make up a rank 4. So if I have 2 scales, this and, I don't know, Harmonized Magician. I'll set the scales, I pen summon, I Xyz into Utopia, I discard Rank Up Magic to the graveyard, and rank up into Utopic Zexal. I pass turn, I detach, and if you read what this card's effect is, you can detach 1 Xyz material from this card. Your opponent's cards and effects cannot be activated this turn. So I win. And that's why it's a meme. It was a joke. I didn't think I was going to be able to do it, but being able to do it twice made it worth it. And it was never like, I saw it and I never got to use it, because generally speaking, I'm going first and I would just side it out going second. And with the Spellbook engine, I just substituted this because when I was playing this, the Spellbook engine was included. I was just playing this in place of a second Spellbook of Secrets, because after you use the Spellbook engine, that second Spellbook of Secrets is dead anyways, and if you draw it after that turn, well, it's useless. And it's same with this Rank Up Magic, so it was the same consequence to me. But it also gave me a win condition, and they got really salty every time I did it, but I laughed every time, so thought it was pretty funny. I wouldn't necessarily recommend taking that to a regional or something if you were going to take it seriously, because it is a meme. It's not, I don't know. I might do it just because I think it's funny. And very quickly, I'm going to go through the extra deck, but you should customize it to your localized meta. 2 Nibiru, 2 Lava Golem, self-explanatory. 1 Dark Ruler no more, simply because I only have 1. 3 Wavering Eyes, because this is devastating in the mirror match. And there are at least 3 other players that use pendulums. So this just ruins their day. And if I had like another Dark Ruler or Infinite Impermanence and stuff like that, I probably wouldn't be playing this. But at least in my current deck, the Magician heavy deck, this is very useful. So I would probably keep it at 2. 1 Infinite Impermanence, 1 Effect Veiler. I would definitely run another Impermanence if I had it, but I don't. Red Reboot, because Konami wanted to hand the format to back row decks and make it so Altergeist, the most boring deck in the planet, is the top deck. 2 copies of Secret Village of the Spellcasters and 1 Terraforming because it's a blowout when you use it.